That Agent Orange is known the world over, in general. Would you like to tell me what was done to test Agent Orange on Fort Detrick and Area B?
Well, from the little bit of information that I've been able to learn in the last week and a half, there was two tests. One was a tower mounted on a pickup truck, and I believe that may be some confusion of those towers. But apparently there was a tower on a pickup truck that drove through a field to simulate aerial from an airplane dispersion.
Okay.
And so that was one of the tests, and according to...
Tell you what, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I can answer the other half of the question.
Yeah, go. Yeah, I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear the answer.
There was also reportedly flyovers of airplanes, so it was done from trucks and from airplanes. This is information that I've gleaned since it was raised to the forefront.
So, may I ask a
We're
question?
definitely on the same side there.
So you say just in the last week and a half, you just started talking about Agent Orange. So as smart as Detrick is, you got some of the most brilliant minds in the world working.
We hope.
We
No,
hope.
they do. They do.
I mean, for real, you got the greatest of
It's not
scientists.
sarcastic.
Why is it that just in the last week and a half you just started talking about
Well, as I
Agent
explained earlier in this forum,
Orange? Because in
1992,
I
in a
understand.
meeting that was just as important as the one that happened last night, those people said...
But they're not
we don't
responsible
care.
for the pit. Detrick was responsible for the pit bull. So why didn't they say, you know what, damn it, we left the pit bull out? And
Sir, I told you what I know, okay?
No, but I'm just
This
trying-
is
I'm
where
just-
we are today. I told you what I know. I cannot explain why people made certain decisions in 1992.
All right, but now I'm asking you, why just in the last week and a half?
What sparked your interest in that in the last week and a half?
Well, obviously it was you folks, okay? We knew about Agent Orange utilization in the greenhouse environment. We knew about it, and there was not a release. It was not a release to the environment. And even Mr. Covert's book, knew that there had been testing of Agent Orange. But the community said in 1992, and the regulators agreed, these are not contaminants.
Do you know how much was used? None of that. So you don't have any clue of any of that. How many times they flew over?
No.
Where?
And we don't even know exactly where, because it will say application of fields A, B, C, D here, and E, F, and G over there. Don't know where they are yet. We
All right,
need to do some serious research.
Maybe we should have a meeting somewhere else. We're a little close to ABCD.
Yeah.
As an engineer, I don't worry about something that might have been applied 45 years ago and has been exposed to the sun and the weather for 45 years, because those chemicals break down.
As a chemical engineer,
Like in
with a
Vietnam?
master's degree,
Right.
I worry about those things.
They break down.
Did you just hear what
They
he
stay
said?
in your fat for a long, long
Talking about
time.
the soil.
They stay in the soil for a fair amount of time too. We'll find out.
We will find out together.
But may I just stay along this line just for a moment?
Sure.
Now that you know that Agent Orange was used with flyovers, etc., okay, are you going to make the public aware of that?
Well, I think you made the public aware of Agent Orange last night.
Well, no.
Now,
Well, the
private
public
information-
You have no clue what I wanted to do.
The subtle information here is, do we make them aware of the flyover? I'm going to have to talk to our attorney.
Listen, I'm being very serious. He's put the chains on me because I want to go pedal to the metal. I'll use that word. And really expose some things that we have. I wrote it. And Chris said, let's kind of talk this thing through, let's see if we can work it out, etc. Let's look at the community as a whole. Fort Detrick, great people, 2,000 employees, etc. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. That's why we're at this meeting. But my question is, now that you know that Agent Orange was used, are you, as Fort Detrick, going to make the public aware?
Well, what I think is the most appropriate way to handle this, Randy, is we have our RAD. Restoration Advisory Board.
Okay, hold on.
Wait.
No, I have to stop.
Let me just finish.
Oh, no, I have to stop.
Well, I'm willing to listen to any ideas that you might have of how we get this information out to the public. But the most...
I could do it.
Just like you said, we've made
I've
public
got
aware
Michael
of it.
Moore
But-
just waiting.
From our point of view, now look at it from our point of view, we want to get this information out to the public because the public is now, raising the issue and is interested. For us, the most appropriate way to do it is probably through a RAD meeting.
Well, let me help you.
But, if you
Have
have
you been-
ideas on how better to do it.
Have you listened to the EPA message, correct? The one that we
Transcript.
were.
Yeah.
The meeting?
Yeah, okay. And then no one knew who Chuck was, the publicist for someone else didn't know who the other
The
person
EPA
was.
didn't know.
No one was talking to it was just kind of, no one knew anything actually, what was going on. And then we asked, well, how do you get the word out to the public? And the answer was, well, we really just kind of make it known to the people around in this area, in the Fort Detrick area. How do you get the word out to the public about these meetings? That is true. So, I want to ask you again, are you going to make the public aware, and it's very important to me as a father who lost a child, and a daughter who had 2 very abnormal tumors removed, and listen, and a wife or ex-wife who right now is in ICU. So it's very important to me how you answer this. Are you going to make them aware in a public forum with a ton of advertising, and I'll help you, I'll pay it, that those fields were sprayed with Agent Orange?
As the environmental chief, I'm not gonna answer that.
What I
Why
think
not?
we need to
Wait,
do.
I was asking him.
Let me just say, and I'm not going to disagree with you. Let me first say that I think what we need to do, Randy, is investigate what we know happened on Detrick.
Kind of the same posture that we know.
Well,
So in
no,
other
no.
words, what we're doing,
What we
it's kind
wanna-
of like a chess game here.
I don't want to
You-
play a chess game. What we
I don't
wanna
either.
do
I
is
would
we-
much rather sit here today and say, you know what, we can work something out.
Right.
But if I get in the car, I'm going back to Hawaii. And I'm going to let the chips fall where they may.
What I'm saying is, allow us enough time to review the records that we have available to us to find out exactly what happened.
So really, you're just kind of saying, basically, this is the same as week.
What I'm
We have
saying-
a lot of information. And you know that. You guys, come on.
What I'm saying is,
Wait a
if you
minute,
would
Gary,
allow us-
listen to me. You know we know stuff that we're not involved in. You know that. We didn't come here stupid. We didn't spend all this money to come in here and be an ass. But I'm saying we're trying to work some things out here. So I'm asking you, you know stuff, and I'm asking you, here's 400 people right here. 400. Right here. Real people that we have sat down, eyeball to eyeball and looked at, that are dying. That's a lot of people. Now wait. And I just asked to do a little statistic. They say that Fort Detrick are saying there's 7,900 within a 1 mile radius. That's what my statistician just said Fort Detrick is saying. 7,900. You have 400. Just telling you what you're saying. Could be wrong.
We have 700 on post, I'm not sure.
I'm saying as far as
Right.
within a 1 mile radius.
All right, so I do have to
Okay.
add also that you've got people who don't currently live here, so that is one of the
Okay.
things that will be challenging later on. But anyway,
But-
nevertheless,
Sure.
400 out of
Nevertheless.
7,900, yeah.
We have information that I wanted to go in last night and demand everyone's resignation and call a national news conference. On the advice of my counsel, he said, let's wait and try to do some negotiations. Is that right, Chris?
After the fact.
Single-handedly were
I'm
able
trying to work this out. But
Quite a leash I have.
We're used to pit bulls.
Yes, we are. Very much so. You know you sprayed the fields now. You're EPA, right? Correct?
He's
No.
environmental.
Environmental.
Farming.
Okay, all So you know you sprayed the fields, etc. So we don't go through the whole scenario of the Dottie Blanks, the Howard Dennermans, who was my great uncle, by the way. Are you familiar with the Dennermans? Any of you? None of you are familiar with the Dennermans?
The dinner?
I am.
None of you are familiar with the Dennermans?
Apparently not.
The woman who sat out here for 2 years with her husband in the
That
wheelchair?
worked for Detrick?
Worked for Detrick? That they took his retirement? None of you are familiar?
Picketed outside?
You're kidding me.
They picketed Fort Detrick.
I've got every news
They went to
article here.
Congress.
It
Yeah.
certainly didn't happen after March 23rd, 2003.
No.
That's when you started.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so we don't want to go through those scenarios again. So now that we know what we know, why doesn't Detrick just come out and say, this is what we're finding out happened?
Well,
And
the same
we're
reason that
investigating
you guys
it.
are holding information on until you have a complete data set of the dioxin study. You know, it's the same reason. You can't go half-cocked into a situation.
Randy,
And so, I mean,
what you would want to do, and what I'm asking you and your group to do, is give us some time to learn what exactly happened here. Rob makes a good point. We don't want to alarm unnecessarily.